Hello, welcome to another episode of Sports and Songs podcast. We're in season 4, episode number 20 for tonight. It's a sports edition only. In fact, tonight's a baseball edition only. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Getting excited for opening day.
Opening day is right around the corner. Today's, March 27th, 2023. Exhibition season ends tomorrow, right? Exhibition season ends tomorrow, essentially. Teams have a day off in between. They break camp, they go. We're going to have a special guest with us tonight. Ryno from Town Ball Tuesday is joining us. How you doing, Ryno?
Great. Fantastic. Living the dream.
We figured with Baseball Fest approaching and your opinions out there on Twitter recently, we'd get you on the show. And there's a lot to talk about, Andy, right?
Really, we could get Kip Kovar again, so we went to plan B.
That's Kip knows way more stuff about stuff than I do. So I hope I can
we've
be
got some entertaining. We've got a lot of topics that are entertaining and a lot of what I would call polarizing topics. We've got all these new rules in the Major League Baseball. We've got a pitch clock. We've got the time. We've got all these things going on, but we just finished World Baseball Classic, the WPC. And
yes.
Andy, do you want to start there and throw some questions?
First of all, I watch a lot of the Japanese League and Korean Baseball League also. Got hooked on that during COVID. And, they say to make the game better and more fun. If you watch the crowds in those games, they got chants for each player and each team. You look at a U.S. game, they're all sitting there doing this on their phones. Not saying we need chants for players, but they keep the game going. And there was no pitch clock at the World Baseball Classic. It was old school baseball. But did you notice the Asian teams in that, they didn't putz around. They got in the box and played. They've always done that. They don't have players there at the Eagles where they got to play with their batting gloves and their helmets and tie their shoes and stuff. So they respect the game a lot more. That's why I kind of like watching it. Did you think in the World Baseball Classic they should have put the pitch clock in since a lot of the major leaguers are going to go to it? I'm thinking that right off the bat.
Going right after that one. No, I do not. As you know, anybody that's following my tweets knows I am not a fan of the pitch clock. It's one of those things. Anybody that watched that, I mean, there were some blowouts obviously in that tournament. There were a number of them, especially in the pool play rounds. That's to be expected. But I don't know anybody that was. I didn't talk to anybody that was watching any of that, World Baseball Classic, saying, "Oh, this, I wish they had the pitch clock in this. I wish they had the big pizza box bags and that only becomes a problem when you're not putting a good product out there that people enjoy watching. And Major League Baseball's problem, there's certainly, you got some of these guys that dilly-dally. You got some of these pitchers that work slow. That needed to be addressed. But just like with the Buster Posey rule, with a lot of things that Major League Baseball seems to do, when they come in and they make a correction, they overcorrect so drastically to, that it screws up everybody's, comfort level with playing a game that they've been playing their whole life at a certain style. And it's just, I feel like they could have done things like just giving instruction to umpires about how to not grant timeouts to batters. Just things. There's things that they could do to speed up the pace of the game. I mean, all you're doing when all this is said and done is shaving. Everybody's saying now it's 21, 22 minutes, whatever. That's spring training. We'll see when we get down to real games. We're probably looking at 50
with the pitch count between the catcher and pitcher. That's going to save time right there.
That was already saving time last year. The time was already down last year off of that. So that's a big part of it. Whatever. That's its own thing. I got, it was a little shock to the system when that came out. I've gotten used to that now, whatever. But yeah, baseball's baseball. And fundamentally what it comes down to is if you don't really enjoy watching baseball, there's nothing they can do other than, putting a freaking lava pit between third base and home that you have to jump over or something.
Right.
You're just not going to be excited by baseball. So,
we've talked about some of the rule changes here already. Obviously, not a fan of the pitch clock. The bigger bases. I mean, okay, Ricky Henderson's record is not in jeopardy with these bigger leagues.
No, I mean, well, we seem to be out. Sorry if
no, go ahead.
you had more to say, but the limiting the pitchers, checks over to first base and this bigger bag, whatever. It seems like the steal attempts and stuff are up in spring, which is good. Baseball needed to do that, but again, like, bigger problem isn't necessarily that guys don't want to go take those bags. It's that the instruction that they're getting from the organizations is don't take the bags, because everything's being done in this post money ball statistical analysis. Yeah. So if that's encouraging guys to be more aggressive on the bags, I don't know how an extra, inch and a half on each side is gonna. I think has more to do with the pitcher not being able to go over there after that second time, really.
Okay, so once he throws to first, there's no reason to hold him on, but the catcher could still throw to first after the pitch.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So you still can hold him on.
Yeah, yeah. There's still, there's still going to be, you definitely don't want to get caught on the bag after he's checked you twice. Then you look really dumb. But I still don't see organizations like the Twins that are so driven by this data driven stuff. They're not going to cut Byron Buxton loose to steal bags. No. It's if this was 1987, Buxton would be stealing 65 bags a year or more, and and hitting. He wouldn't be hitting. He wouldn't be putting up Rob Deere numbers. Let's just say that it's. I just don't know if it's fundamentally, and I hope they prove me wrong. It'd be awesome if at the end of the season, I can go, I was dead wrong about all this. This has been the funnest season of Major League Baseball I've ever seen. I just don't see it happening. The organizations are going to keep playing the way they play. They're going to keep sending guys up there with this launch angle, strikeout stuff. I keep seeing tweets where people are like, oh, man, I watched the Cubs and Dodgers game or whatever today, and it came in at only 2 hours and 9 minutes or something. It was awesome. And then you pull the box score out of there, and there's like 26 strikeouts, and like, of course the game's over in no time when guys are going up there not ready to swing and just hacking away. You got guys throwing cheese at them. It's also spring training where you got half the rosters, guys are trying to make the cut, everything else, whatever.
It takes an hour to get out of the B garage downtown sometimes. So that's a 2-hour game.
Well, and most of the time, when I go to a Twins game, I show up there and you get stuck in that security line, and you're making it in. It's the bottom of the first already by the time you can even find a seat.
Right.
So now you're going to get there. It's going to be the fourth inning.
Well, and look at guys like Trickster and the beer vendors. They're going to be losing money on these short games too.
Yeah, they're already losing.
All the vendors. I mean,
yeah, they're already losing money on this nonsensical seventh inning stretch crap. But
right. Yeah, they're going to lose that there. I've heard some scuttlebutt online about how they might adjust the pitch clock for like the 9th inning or something like that, or extra innings, but
they got to do something. It's a clown show right now.
You think they'll bring back the bullpen cart to get guys out there faster?
That gets the Ryno's endorsement there.
Because look at the money baseball can make on advertisements on the cart and everything else.
Yeah. Well, and
now Chevrolet can sponsor the cart and everything else.
But it comes down to the product. Like I said, the average NFL game is like 3 hours, 15 minutes. When was the last time you heard anybody say, "Oh, these football games are taken"? Nobody says that. And go to a live football game sometime for the people that say, "Oh, they don't do anything in baseball. I stand around." 85% of football is standing around with 5-second bursts of action. So but they put.
We had that on about a month ago. Yeah. We talked about like between basketball, baseball, football, and hockey, how much actual playing time is in a game.
Yeah,
football got nothing.
Me and Marty did a thing a couple winters ago. We were watching a football game, and I just had a stopwatch going, and I would every time they snapped the ball, I'd hit it and then stop it when the play was blown dead, and Marty would hit it every time a commercial came on. And then we compared it to the amount of time that the game took, and it was astounding how little action there is over the course of a football game.
Yeah,
but people enjoy the product, and so nobody notices. It's also what are you going to do with that extra 20 minutes? Like, come on, get real. Like, people sit down with a 12-pack of beer and a couple pizzas, and they watch football from noon till 10 p.m. every Sunday. And they're not like all of a sudden then they're not pressed for time and her,
Yeah.
My kid's got homework. I can't watch football. Yeah, right.
Yet they want to make the Monday after the Super Bowl a holiday because you can't handle your alcohol on a football game.
Exactly. But
all right. Anyway, some other things to talk about, like with the World Baseball Classic, kind of bounced that a little bit. Japan and Korea, their season kind of mirrors Major League Baseball, so they were kind of in their spring training mode.
Yep.
Australia just got done like in February, so they're still kind of in somewhat shape. Now the games talks for the next Classic, Mexico City and Toronto as host cities instead of Arizona and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that idea because
have you actually seen that?
Yeah, that's what they're kicking out. They haven't officially said it yet, but they're suggesting let's spread it out more. So there's already minor league games. The attendance was awesome for World Baseball Classic.
Yeah.
But you're taking away from some minor league attendances, spring training attendance already.
Yeah.
But to spread that dollar value, Mexico City, they want to draw the crowd there, and the fans from Mexico were coming up big time, Cuban fans. So that I'd also have no problem with if they had it in Seattle. And the reason I say that is because the international game was so big there because of Ichiro, when he was there.
Yeah.
Brought Japan. That influence over. I think Seattle would be a great location for it.
I hadn't thought of that one, but yeah, they could do it there. They've got the dome, obviously.
They got a dome. Nothing else going on up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the Kraken. Don't get me wrong, but I mean,
Kraken.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Krakens.
But so with the World Baseball Classic, every 4 years, it's kind of in between the Olympics, so it's kind of not messing with that. Okay, so we had our pro players there for World Baseball Classic, but we don't send major leaguers to the Olympics because of when it falls.
Right. I thought Olympic baseball was back off again now, though.
Right, but if they put it back in, or they made it because of World Baseball Classic,
yeah.
If they're to try to get a demonstration again, should major leaguers go and put a break in the system in the season like hockey does?
That's no.
So keep it to our minor leaguers.
I think I guess that would be up to the That's a better question for the guys that are actually going to be involved to answer. That'd be one for the Players Association. I mean, if it's that meaningful to the guys that they want to go represent their country, then
because we got guys from multiple countries in Major League Baseball. That's what I'm saying. You could,
yeah. I mean, the problem is that they're going to run into obviously is you're going to have ownership. Yeah. It's always the concern, ownership. And you got obviously a lot of mouthpieces for fantasy baseball and stuff. They're like, oh, Altuve got hurt, and now it's terrible. He's got where's his loyalty to his organization and all this stuff. And
okay, that was my next question.
Yeah,
Edwin.
With the exception of my boy Edwin Diaz celebrating and going Bill Gramatica on the bit and hurting himself, Altuve's injury could happen in a regular game.
Well.
Freddie Freeman's could happen in a regular spring training game. Yeah. So I don't want to hear these injury excuses from World Baseball Classic.
Yeah. Well, that's and that celebration. I still don't understand what happened. Obviously, there's not a good camera angle because he's surrounded with a mob of people. But
right.
It didn't look anything like.
I don't know if he tripped on the rubber or on his own 2 feet or what. But
because remember when what's his name stepped on home plate and broke his leg after the homer.
Oh yeah.
That was a few years back, but hits a homer and he's coming around and they go to the celebration. He steps and skids on his spike and hurt. I mean that stuff's. We've had a few of these. Denny Hocking famously in 2001 when we beat Oakland. He got supposedly stepped on by Jack Jones, is what my understanding.
Yeah, celebration,
Angels series, yeah. So,
well, and how many guys you hear every now and then pull a muscle in their back, swinging and missing?
Yeah,
so that could happen in spring training too. So
Ken Griffey Jr. missed half of his rookie season after he fell getting out of the shower. I mean, things happen. Yeah, it's these guys. I think Kurt Flood established that these guys aren't the property of their respective franchises, and they have their own choices to make in life. So,
right.
These teams all have insurance on these guys' contracts. I'm not for that.
Well, yeah, because like with the Mets, me being a Mets guy, I know this is with Diaz's injury, his salary this year does not count against the cap for him.
Oh, against the luxury tax, you mean?
Yep. Yeah. So they got money to spend on overpaying for a free agent reliever this year when that comes up. So that's all how that works with a spring training exhibition so early in spring training, what counts or ever towards the cap. Speaking of salary cap things, they say it a lot now with Ken Griffey Jr. because he's played his presence, in the World Baseball Classic. And of course, my friend Bobby Bonilla with his contract, getting his 1 point some million, which is nothing in today's standards for salaries.
I'd take
Griffey's
it.
going to be the fourth highest paid guy on the Reds this year.
I saw that.
Are you in favor of guys getting these why not pay me for 15 years after? And Bonilla's getting it from the Mets and Orioles.
Oh, is he still getting Orioles money too?
Yeah, he's still got a couple years left on the Orioles deal.
Wow. I mean,
so
I don't see a problem with it.
If the
If
players
these guys
want to
can
take
negotiate that
money
contract, yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, if the organizations are going to do it and these guys are going to negotiate those contracts, what do I care? If I win the lottery, I could take it as a lump sum, or I can take a long-term payout. Like, I don't know why it's any different.
Like I said, Bonilla's 1 point some million. That's nothing in today's salary for start killing him on the roster.
Yeah, but if you're, for a sensible guy that's smart with his money, like that's boom. That's. I mean, I guess
I said Bobby Bonilla. So.
When's Bobby Bonilla Day?
And here's the other question: guys like Bonilla, that if the Mets won it, does he get a ring?
No, he's not rostered.
He's on the payroll.
He's
not on a roster spot, but you think they'd still send him a ring?
That's a good question.
I mean, why not? It'd be great publicity.
They might as well at this point.
A great human story.
No, but I mean, if a guy can work that deal out, I mean, why not?
I'd love to quit my job and still get paid. I mean, we have retirement and Social Security for us working class snobs. But if your boss says, hey, when you leave, I still want to pay you 40 hours a week for the next 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if I'm a financial advisor for these guys, I'm against it because I'm probably saying, give me that lump sum to gamble with. But I mean, if I'm, my grandpa who lived through the Depression, getting that $1 million check every year for the rest of your life, or for however many years, that's money in the bank. Like,
that's smart contracts. I remember one basketball contract. I think it was Gary Payton. He redid his contract, and he knew during that time there was going to be a strike, so he wanted his year's salary paid once the first of every year. So if they went on strike in February, he still got that year's salary. He was still covered. Smart man. With baseball starting now, they've changed the schedule. You're playing everybody all the time, not just certain divisions. So you're going to see every team. If you're one of the few people to get the Bally Sports Network here, you can watch the Twins games. You'll see every team in baseball this year. Is that a good thing or no? Or did you kind of like the split interleague play where you had we'll play the Brewers and the National League Central this year?
I'm an old school guy. I liked when they first introduced the interleague. I liked the interleague. There's a charm about the World Series being like teams from two different worlds that have to play each other. They don't necessarily know each other. There was a charm to that. When they introduced the interleague, I think it proved to be an interesting, especially when you get the sort of regional rivalry games. It's obviously, I think when they started, Milwaukee was still in the AL, but now that they're in the NL, we don't see Milwaukee. We wouldn't see Milwaukee aside from interleague play. Obviously seeing the Cubs White Sox game, the Mets Yankees game, like those rivalry games are always great. When we go to Denver, it's not necessarily there's not a big storied rivalry between the Minnesota Twins and the Arizona Diamondbacks. I guess the imbalanced schedule stuff that they were doing, where you're playing, you see Kansas City 19 times a year. That can be a little bit of a drain on viewership, I suppose. So I don't know. Again, this is one we'll see. I don't have any kind of huge issue with it ethically or anything like that.
Yeah. And it'd be kind of fun because you can see the certain guys you don't get to see all the time. That's kind of replacing the old game of the week where you didn't see these players. Now you can see everybody.
Yeah, or you'd see them when they came through on that cycle of the, that rotation of the interleague or whatever every 4 or 5 years. But yeah.
Right. Hopefully you can catch one guy who's still there.
Yeah.
Because it used to be the game of the week when we were kids. That's the only chance you got to see him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that way again now because ESPN, if you're not the Yankees or the Red Sox, they don't want to show you.
Yeah.
It seems. So you don't get to really see all the teams like they did when they first started. Their Sunday night game, they used to try to hit every Major League Baseball club.
Yeah. Now it's
they gave up that idea.
Now it's Boston and the Yankees every freaking weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Boston against the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yay. Yeah. Announcers for Major League Baseball. John Smoltz, I was okay with him. He didn't bother me as much as I thought he would. I got used to him throughout the Classic. I don't know. Maybe I'm prejudiced on this, but I wish they could have got Ron Darling to do it because I like listening to Ron Darling talk ball, but I know he's got that TBS contract and everything else. What other announcers do you really like in baseball?
I mean, with all this AI technology now, can we bring Ernie Harwell back? Because that
I would love to. I used to watch on MLB Package. I'd stay up late at night just listen to Dodger games, listen to Vin Scully.
Oh yeah.
I'd care less what the score was. Just to listen to him talk was just beautiful.
Yeah. I was what's the San Francisco John God, why can't I can't remember. God, he was doing the Sunday night games on the radio for a long time with
Yep.
with Joe Morgan too, and Morgan was brutal. But
yeah, the heavy bald-headed dude. Yeah.
I cannot remember. But also John Shambi, who does is doing the radio games. Shambi and Chris Singleton, I think, do a really nice job on the radio. I catch more on the radio, honestly, than I do, on TV because I'm bouncing around all summer, between ballparks and games and stuff. So if I, on Sunday nights, I try to always tune in and catch that game. So it helps that I think Shambi and Singy do a nice job on there. So that's a good one.
Try to look up here.
Yeah, I was not. People really, really, really didn't like Smoltzy. He's a Michigan guy, so I kind of got to stick up for him, or I should have to. But
that's what I was kind of going. That's what I was kind of seeing if you or not.
He also skipped out on state to go pro, so I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be as. He's not exactly Kirk Gibson in our hearts. But yeah, I think it's a little bit like I don't know. He just might need a little coaching on just when to stop.
Maybe I just got used to him. And no rip on him. The guys the Twins have on TV are just, I don't know. I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
They had what's his name? LaTroy Hawkins on once for a Twins game.
Yeah.
I think they realized afterwards we got LaTroy on because it was a couple times. I think they needed the 7-second delay when Troy's talking. He got a little carried away on some bad calls.
Well, and there's a fine line with that. Like, I'm a Danny Gladden guy.
I like the wrench. Yep.
I as a color guy, I'm not a when he gets the play-by-play innings, he can be a little bit here's Johnson batting and oh boy, and then you're like, what is that air? And then he goes, that's a 3-run homer. Twins trail 4-2. It's like, what can you give me so I'm not his play-by-play. It's a lot better than it was when they were first giving him the play-by-play. But I like the color commentary from guys that they do the whole the tell it like it is bit where he's not afraid to call out a guy for not hustling a ball out or whatever else. And he is also kind of one of he's one of those ham and eggers in his playing days. So you kind of appreciate that more from those guys because, he was a hell of a ball player, but, he was not a perennial all-star, superstar elite player. He was a guy who had to work at it, obviously to get there, had to.
He was second rookie of the year voting.
Yeah. I mean, he had a nice career, but, he's not going into the Hall of Fame at any point.
No.
Here. So, he's a little bit of one of those guys. He's obviously a hustle guy. I mean, we all remember him crossing the plate in 91.
I like listening to guys like Bob Walk with Pittsburgh when it's not that good a team, but you can still keep me interested to listen the whole time. That's a good announcer right there.
By the way.
Huh?
What a name for a pitcher, by the way.
I know.
Bob Walk.
Bob Walk. But those are the guys that if you can keep me interested in your game and your team stinks and you're losing by 6 runs all the time, but I still want to listen, that's a good announcer. Yeah,
I mean, the Tigers had plenty of stinky years with Ernie on there, and
Ernie made it exciting. You wanted to listen though.
Yeah, I mean, it was and he was different because it was soothing. I mean, it was like having someone read you poetry or something.
Yeah.
Vin Scully, very similar. Just that they have that way of telling the story of a baseball game that just really made it. Illuminated all this mysticism that we apply to baseball and stuff in a really cool way.
Getting to more of the local scene here. Town ball season is coming up, and we got some fun things going on in the area. There's Delano has their Christmas in July game. There's a couple triple headers and double headers for different causes and stuff like that. I'm a fan of those. I like those triple header games. That's a great thing. Is there anything that your regions, your teams that have something like that? Is there a promotion you'd like to see in town ball that's maybe not?
Well, another thing, that you'll know.
Besides Dime Beer Night, I mean, what else would you like to see?
Well, the dollar beer innings in Shakopee are always a
fan favorite.
Anyone that wants to recreate those. No, I'm a big fan of teams with the same mascot playing each other. So I'm always trying to push people to get these tournaments where they get a bunch of teams with the same name. And everyone always laughs about it, but no one's taken me up on it until this year. Green Isle's got the All Irish thing going on.
Yes, I saw that one.
June 17th. So it'll be Green Isle, Stockman's, St. Patrick, and and of course the Milroy Irish. So I'm hoping it just becomes an annual revolving thing, and they go ballpark to ballpark.
Between the four and rotate around. Yep.
When is that? When is that game?
June 17th, I think it is. Off the top, I don't have my calendar.
That's pretty good. I mean, that's a fun.
That's a good one. And
Father's Day weekend, isn't it? June 17th.
Kids, I don't know.
Sounds about right. It's usually middle of the month, so
gotta be.
I mean, what better way to spend with your Irish dad than at
what
the
a better way to tell the wife and kids I'm out of here for the day. Give Daddy a Father's Day gift.
It is. It's the day before Father's Day.
Okay. See? Well, and I heard it's a dry game in Green Isle that day. So
define dry in Green Isle. Light beer only or something?
That's a lie. That's a lie. It will not be a dry game.
Hard liquor and handgun night out in Green Isle.
Yeah, I hope they're stocking up because I know guys from all those squads, and
it could get ugly.
They could put it. Yeah, it won't get ugly. It'll just
be the crowd and
they'll have a good time. We'll just leave it at
that. As you recall from our roundtable show with baseball, town ball roundtable show there. Looks like the conferences will be pretty tight. They actually have an all-star game this year now. That should be fun.
Yeah.
Is that when was the last time they had an all-star game for between the two?
Which conferences are we talking here?
It's Crow River and
the
North Star.
RVL.
North Star. Yeah.
Crow River and the North Star. It doesn't.
Doing an all-star game, if you will.
I have never made it to one of those things, man. They always end up lining up with when I got a game or something. Like it never works out. But did they not? Has it been a couple years? I thought did they not bring it back?
I don't think they've had one since we've started the show that I know of. So that's
the DRS would do one, I think, in the past. The Crow River would once in a while, but it's a tough thing to keep going.
Yeah, because was it the DRS and RVL that are they the ones that do it against?
Maybe that was it. That was it.
Maybe they brought it back last. I'm not the guy to answer that one, I guess.
Fun tension breaker during the season though to have too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like a fun thing to do. If you can get that, if you can work it into the schedule, and it's if you can squeeze it out, get a host. Obviously, the host said he's going to dig it. It's like it's like getting an extra region game. Like you're gonna get a good turnout for it, and
Yep. Yep.
sling some burgers and beers at your shack. So why not do it if you can?
Now I see we don't have a lot of Channel 9 games locally here for us this year. So do you enjoy going to those games? Seeing Ian and the boys from Channel 9 out there?
We did one. The only one I've actually gone out to see live was in Howard Lake a couple years back. And it's a lot of what to do. There's a lot going on. Obviously, it's
great. Got like 4 of them last year, weren't they?
What's that?
Didn't Plittle? They were like part of 3 or 4 of those games last year.
They kept getting scheduled.
Years back, hosting, and they played as visitors in 2 others.
They just somebody at Channel 9's a big fan of.
I guess
colored
Blue Jays.
I think it's an awesome thing for those communities. Like obviously, like they get probably the biggest crowd of the year every year when they do those things, and good for them and good for all the exposure that it creates for town ball. It's awesome, and I hope it makes people that are just watching the news go, wow, that place is cool. That's only 35 minutes from here. We should go down there sometime and catch a game.
I mean, the whole town gets excited. I know when they were out here for Watertown last year, Channel 9 spent the day downtown.
It's like a carnival. Yeah.
So it's a plug
bouncy
for
house.
Business. Yeah. It's
this
awesome.
year they're going to Forest Lake, Litchfield, St. Joseph, Newmarket, Gaylord, and Freeport. They're going to go to Freeport the first.
That's good. Freeport is an underrated ballpark.
Is it? Okay.
Man,
I've never been there.
Very cool ballpark.
Cool water tower on the way into town.
Yeah. But it's one of those that flies under the radar. Nobody really talks about it too much. So I'm glad that they got on the radar for this. And I'm glad that they're getting a little farther out. They concentrate obviously for logistical reasons. They're not going to stray too far from where the station is, but it's nice to see stuff get out that way a little bit more. So kudos to Freeport for getting that. There's
some good teams in northern Minnesota that should try to hit one of those one time during the year. You'd think. I mean, you can get the signal up there, so why not?
That'd be great.
Municipal Lightning champions.
Well, Perham's got a beautiful ballpark up there.
Yep.
I could go to. I mean, I guess they've had plenty of camera crews at.
How did you do in your ballpark bracket?
How did I do? I did not.
You did not participate either.
I filled one out. We had a few just kind of guys doing it on the sly. My picks weren't exactly the same as in the early rounds anyway. I mean, now you're getting to the later rounds. Like obviously some Delano stands out. Obviously, you get to.
They're the Duke of North Carolina, the whole thing right there.
Yeah. It was fun. Like again, like it's awesome that they're getting all this exposure. We got some controversy now about the final that's been on Twitter today. So we'll see. It's all in good fun. For Springfield, like they did an awesome job getting prepped for state a couple years ago, and that ballpark's looking great. And that's nobody ever talked much about Springfield until they got named for that bid with New Ulm originally. So, great for them to, even if there's some tomfoolery going on, I don't even know, whatever. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that are hitting that poll going like, spring what? They're just expecting, Arlington or Jordan or something end up in that final. So awesome that Springfield's get some exposure. I hope people.
And it's kind of both of us too. I know, like out here in Watertown, we'll plug the locals again. The stadium up there at 420 High Street isn't much right now, but there's a lot of plans in the works. Kind of like watching your baby grow up, kind of go to some of these smaller parks and visit it again a couple years later, see how they've changed. A lot of these parks are stepping up their game, which is really nice.
It is. And that's what's been a great thing about getting tied into all this business so much over the last few years with, when me and Marty initially fired up the Town Ball Tuesday stuff and really started getting out and seeing it is there are already so many great places when we were starting at that time. And we kind of really got locked into it at a time when this kind of town ball renaissance that we're kind of experiencing was really firing up. And a lot of these ballparks that we went to that were good before are like better now, like Litchfield, did all that work now since they hosted in 2016, and then 7 years later here they're back, as a state host and doing awesome. Cokato, nice build up for their ballpark, and
There's
got
your
people
hats.
adding lights, and it's great. So there's almost like a little bit of a competition between towns where they're looking over their shoulder going like, well, Spigotville over there has got a, they really spruced up their ballpark. We better do something here in Dogwater, So it's cool. Like, it's great. And if you can get the financing, for it to do it, you look at what places like Waconia have done with, raising through nonprofit charitable organizations and stuff like that to get the financing done and build it out and
kind of be by the high school and going with them to get a few more bucks in right there. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, working with, you got a tight baseball association where you're running, Legion and youth programming and stuff out of there. Like, St. Patrick, great example, like what they've done, they're running so much ball out of there. I guess it helps if you got a guy like Mike Stika is going to go down there and put 270 hours a week into maintaining the ballpark. But it's been great to see all this, and it's even better when they've got a team that plays 35s, and we can sneak in there and get a game in and play on those fields, because it's nothing better.
Now, did you? And I hopefully you did. The Gophers played a few games at the greenhouse down there, the U.S. Bank Stadium. Was that embarrassing to watch, or was it just me? They don't even put dirt on the fields.
I know. And
they still keep the Viking logos all around the pads for the Gopher baseball.
It's insulting. Do you remember how that whole episode played out when they finalized the plans? Because I would go down to the Metrodome for the watch the Hormel games.
Yep.
When they were doing the Hormel Classic down there, and part of the Met Council's deal for building a new stadium was that the Vikings also had to provide this space for collegiate baseball, because that was part of the deal with the Metrodome. And there was I'm sure you can pull up the old article on the Star Tribune, but like they literally designed the whole layout for the ball for the stadium, the football stadium, and just like forgot to include baseball modifications.
Yep. The retractable.
And the council's like, so what's the baseball going to look like? And they're like, well, what?
Yeah.
So they had to go back and revise the plans. So the whole baseball thing was an afterthought. Like, and it looks like an afterthought. It looks like when you're playing like kickball in the gym on top of the basketball court, and you have like the mats in the corners, and if it goes over the hoop, it's 2 runs, and it looks like something you rigged up in your driveway, or it's lame that there's.
Or when you see the game there, you're ready to hear the story. It's like, well, they're playing here because they got 10 feet of snow outside, so we threw it inside real quick.
Yeah, and
they still got the Viking pads behind home plate. It's like, what an embarrassment.
It's pretty lame. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, it's already weird that there's so many. You've seen a lot of the like the Frank down in Mankato and La Crosse and actually we played up in Duluth last year, where they've got they've turfed all these multi-use collegiate, which I get. Like if you're gonna get games in there in April, it's just whatever. You gotta play
Wade Stadium. Was that Wade?
Yeah. The Wade up in Duluth. We got to play up there last fall. It was awesome. But so I'm not a huge AstroTurf guy, but I get logistically like why you would do it. But but at least like have the dirt cutouts, like where they got the painted on cutouts, and
it's embarrassing. I mean, what school would want to come up here to play? Would you want to come from Arizona to play in that?
No, if not from Arizona, because you can play in Arizona. Like I understand why Bethel wants to play there.
You can't get the Southern teams competition up here, so you're stuck getting Little Sister Mary School of the Blind playing here or something like that.
I can't believe they got Vandy up here for that tournament and stuff. Like, but
yeah, how much of that? I wonder if there was some kind of back deal, like, oh, but we'll come down and play you in basketball later or something like that. They mix in there with sports or something.
Yeah, some horse trading going on between
under table deal there. But yeah, I just wish the Gophers could get more love and respect because I love watching college baseball all year long. Early in the summer, watch the Southern games and the West Coast games. And it's so hard to get, if the Gophers or Michigan make it to the tournament, they're just, you look at the records and Arizona's at 58-10 and Michigan's 12-3,
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing when you get to our state tournament, you see like, New York Mills is in there and they've played 17 games or something, that, whatever. Mills usually plays pretty good. When a lot of these outstate teams, they'll come in and they'll have like a record of like 13-7 or something. And you're like, wow, other teams have played 40, 45 games.
Yep, I saw up north. Winnie Mac had some farmer Ted was out there with his truck blowing off the fields to get baseball practice in, and that's what you need. Just one guy to get it started, to show respect for the game. Everybody's like, "Hey, yeah, let's go support the baseball team because they're trying," and that's what's fun about it.
Well, they should be, these small towns should be drafting old men to be forced to come out and live in that town and take care of the ball field once their playing days are over. You should
get the chain gang back out there cleaning it up.
No, you just get a letter in the mail that says, "We noticed you've retired from ball. Here's the keys to your new house. Cut the grass at least 3 times a week and make sure that mound is tamped. And
yes, and grab a beer from the out the cooler when you're in there.
Yeah, yeah. Help yourself to a cold one while you're mowing if you want.
That's right.
Crazy.
Just don't mow it 4 times a day.
Yeah, because you're right though. Every one of these towns has that guy, man, the guy that's out there, and everybody knows him. That's Larry. He's you go like, well, what's gonna happen when he's gone? Or
He's Larson.
Who's gonna and you hope that there's somebody waiting in the wings, dying to do it. But I don't know.
Someone watching, filling in.
Maybe if Larry starts TikToking about it or something, then they'll get more young folks to want to come out and take care of the ball field.
But that's about all I got. Do you have anything you want to discuss, sir?
I've got I forgot the trivia question.
Or factoid that you gotta have?
Factoid, and I think Ryno's gonna like this, but the factoid is back in 1980 was the last time a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball exceeded 300 innings in a season. It was Steve Carlton.
Yeah.
Pitched 304 innings that year. That's the last time we ever saw that happen. Now, of course, we're never going to see it again. But tell me some of your thoughts on those old school guys who racked up the innings. All the starts, just the regular Burt Blyleven's who went all these innings. Complete games were huge stats back then. Now there's no such thing.
So when Frank Tanana pitched like 8 complete games in a row or something like that at one time.
Well, I mean, it was a different mindset how you constructed your pitching back then. I mean, basically, if you were a bullpen guy at that point, I mean, you had a few guys that were kind of specializing as bullpen guys. Your Eckersleys and your, Goose Gossages and stuff. But most of those guys, if you ended up in the bullpen, it was because you're a failed starter, and even Eckersley, even those guys. But it was, you wanted to be the starting pitcher on the bump. You wanted to be able to go out there and give your team 7 and when you couldn't do that, you kind of got demoted to the bullpen rather, so it was obviously it was a different time. And from a managerial standpoint back then, it's like, well, why would I want, a bum that got demoted on the bump when I could, have one of my studs out there. But I mean, obviously we've seen that specialization going all the way back to like, Christ, they got 12 U kids specializing as closers and stuff now.
Yeah.
So
set up guys.
Yeah.
Jamie Moore 8 more years because of it.
Yeah. I mean, so it's, again, game evolves. Like it's always going to be, I personally liked seeing that style of play better. Usually because it meant you had one more guy off the bench, that when you had 25-man rosters back then, and you had
Well,
teams.
you mentioned Goose Gossage. Back when he played, the reliever, the closer, would pitch 2-3 innings, not the last third like Eckersley.
Yeah, you hand him the ball in the sixth and say, "Take us home."
Yeah, those two guys pitch a game. Rarely do you see 4 pitchers in a game for one team.
A 9-out save.
Well, that's again back to this like speeding up the game stuff. They're speed up games too slow. Nothing slows the game down like pitching changes in the middle of an inning. That's your big drag there, and now you've got. They keep saying that they want to speed up the game, but then they expand rosters to where everybody's carrying 13 pitchers now.
Yeah, it's 13.
And 7 of them, throw 96 plus and have about a 3-year career. I mean, you got labor issues there. You got all kinds of things there. They're just burning through these guys and cast them,
I was speaking with the pastor. My pastor the other day, we talk baseball after church all the time. I get him in trouble because he's always late for confirmation class because we're talking ball.
Nice.
Yeah. We're talking about that. He goes, his biggest thing he hates is the ghost runner in extra innings.
Oh, God.
But here's what we came up with. Compromise fix it. Okay. If you got a doubleheader, they let you get an extra pitcher on your roster for a doubleheader.
Yeah.
How about if you played more than 10 innings, you can call up another pitcher for 2 days? Would that get rid of the ghost runner?
Yeah.
I'd have no problem with that one. Get rid of the ghost runner.
The best times I ever had as a kid were, the extra inning games and the occasional time you'd get a doubleheader.
Free baseball or the doubleheader.
Oh, God. And then they killed the doubleheaders. They made them all day-night doubleheaders anyway. So it's
you got to leave and buy another ticket and come back in again.
Buy another ticket. Sorry, kid. You're not getting nothing free here. I don't know.
Speaking of money, we've got these. All the teams have their home, their away, their alternate jerseys, their throwback jerseys.
Merch.
Now we get Nike coming into the mix with the City Connect. They've been doing this for 2-3 years now, and just I think it was today they announced. Here's the 6 teams now, Ryno. Here's the 6 teams.
Okay. I am eager to hear this.
The Nike City Connect. Now they announced the Braves already, Atlanta Braves, and they already kind of showed what their jersey is. I'd like to get your thoughts on that, but they're going to go Texas Rangers this year, Seattle Mariners, Cincinnati Reds, Pittsburgh Pirates, Baltimore Orioles. There's our 6. And so for the listeners and the viewers out there not really familiar, they go and put this together with a kind of a branding logo concept with the team and the city. Another reason to sell jerseys, obviously, but Nike gets this contract and they assign basically 6 teams every year, and they're rotating this through to get another jersey on the shelves. What's your thoughts, especially of the one you saw today of the Braves?
Oh, it's just that one's boring. This whole I'm not a fan of this whole because they've all just been pretty awful. Like I like the Angels one. There's some design flaws with it. It's only got stripes on one sleeve, which looks weird, and it's some high-end design, asymmetrical, blah blah blah, whatever concept thing. But other than that, like I kind of like it's a good looking uniform. It's got a real it's 60s surf vibe to it, which is what they were going for. Like the Angels type on the front kind of looks like the like I Dream of Jeannie kind of typography. It's a cool. I think it's a good looking uni, except for a couple quirks to it that I don't like. I mean, some of them are just like that Milwaukee one that came out last year is it looks like it's just, I mean, not only is the powder blue thing has gotten so overplayed in the last few years where it went from being something I was really excited about to be, like another powder blue major league uniform, really.
Now the Marlins announced this week, every Friday home game, they're going to go back to their old teal jerseys from the World Championship years. I'm okay with a team doing something like that.
Yeah.
We'll bring back that Dairy Queen red softball uniform they had.
Well, I see the Devil. Well, the Rays they're bringing back the old Devil Rays uniforms too, which is a funny thing because I thought they dropped that over some whole religious, complaints.
Maybe they donate the money to some church then afterwards.
I don't. I mean, it seemed like a weird thing. It was the name of a fish. Like it didn't have anything to do with promoting. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the Tampa Bay Rays were not promoting Satanism with their fans, but maybe it was something I didn't know about. But Yeah. So, but apparently that's back and it's cool now, and everyone's giving up on that. So I don't know. I never liked those jerseys with like the rainbow print through the. I don't know,
Now, speaking of old school jerseys, like what you saw with the Irish out in St. Patrick, how about if when the Twins and Rangers play, they both wear their old Senators uniforms?
See, I like when they were
that
doing
would be a cool promotion one weekend.
Yeah. Senators, yeah, for sure.
What about the old Senator ones against each other?
That would
and
be
the other
great.
thing that bothers me the most, when ESPN got into baseball games, I remember as a kid, opening day, the first game was always the Cincinnati Reds at home. They always had the first game. Then ESPN took that away from us too.
Well, they're doing the same. The Lions always had our Thanksgiving Day game, and then other people wanted a piece of that pie, and you know how it is.
Yeah.
But
I know.
Now, I mentioned earlier with spring training winding down, we do have the winners. I know no one cares about this. This is kind of a joke, but the Grapefruit League this year, the champions, St. Louis Cardinals, won it.
Oh, they practiced harder than anybody.
But they won
Good for the Cardinals, yeah.
And the Royals, speaking of powder blue, were winners of the Cactus League today.
Another I-90 series right there. We're looking at it.
Well, 100% of the time, you do not pick a team that wins spring training to do.
It means nothing. Yeah,
it means their whole team is auditioning.
Yeah.
So everybody's out there
the
playing
win-loss records. You want to be in that. I always said good teams are usually 18-12 or 17-14. It doesn't make
teams. They already have their roster set, and they've got a couple guys that are trying to squeak in that last spot. And the guys that are up there, they're working on hitting to right off of lefties, or they're
mechanical thing.
Okay,
nobody's up there fighting for a roster spot. What's up?
There's no shift this year.
Yeah,
but was the Red Sox against the Twins moved a left fielder in to play shallow right? Again, no shift. I think a Major League Baseball player hit the ball the opposite field, for crying out loud.
Well, I don't.
It gets about the analytics though.
Now,
it's
because I got the thing, and I don't know if you guys have even seen this, but in looking at the box scores recently, I know because Ryno I spent a couple times looking at the time of some of these games. I did see today in the box score the Twins played the Pirates. Each team had a defensive illegal shift warning. They were called out. The Pirates had an illegal shift at one point in the game, and they have to mention it, in the box score. It's a footnote. The Twins had an illegal shift they had brought forth in the box score. You have to see this. It's
now when you played Twingo this year at the game, was that could be one of the squares, the illegal shift out?
Yeah.
Oh my God, bingo.
Oh,
so lots of new things and lots of new people tracking things. You got the scoreboard operator running the time, the pitch, the clock. Different when it's guys on base, 20 seconds, 15 seconds when it's none. And then you could ring the guy up. The ump can ring him up to end the game. No pitch thrown. You can get strikeouts now with 2 pitches thrown. So it's going to throw things out of whack. But
I tell you, for an umpire who's already got, you got a Major League rule book that's, the size of War and Peace already. And you're supposed to be looking for things. I mean, obviously they're working with a bigger crew at the Major League level, but they're not 1 or 2 man crews, but there's a lot you have to know that just has to be part of your memory.
To monitor all these things.
And not only knowing that, you're watching for it, and then you add this other, now I got to watch this clock too. And I got to make sure that, that that's just.
Now, is he going to be watching the clock, or is there going to be someone else watching it that beeps him in the ear?
I don't know. Maybe he's getting a
signal. I don't know.
There's so many things going on. Now, what you first said at the beginning of the show, and I forgot to jump in and ask you, Ryno, is it sounds like that you're not a fan of the pitch clock being as short as it is. You wouldn't mind it maybe if it was a 45-second pitch clock, not 10, 15 seconds. Or were you against it altogether?
I'm believe it or not, I'm a bit. There's some pragmatism with me, but I realize that this is going to happen. It's certainly if they're. It's going to happen. It's here. It's not going anywhere. It's got to be longer. It's just silly now. I mean,
and maybe they do it this year and find out that it's too extreme and push it back 10 seconds for next year.
You're just seeing, a guy fouls the ball off and then steps back and resets, steps back into the box, and it's nothing that anybody watching the game would be like, "Come on, let's go!" It's just a normal baseball situation, and before he knows it. He's got 2 feet in the box, 2 hands on the bat, but he's not making eye contact with the pitcher.
He's
whatever
not engaged.
Yeah. And then they're punching him, and he's like, "What are you talking about? Like, that was like 3 seconds." And whatever. It took the full 7. What's he got? 7 seconds? He's got it in there by the 8 count. It's
something like that. But they had a trial period in the minor leagues for any one of these rules. They all try them, including moving the pitching, the rubber back a foot or something a couple years ago. They try these things first, and if they succeed in this beta testing, essentially, then they bring them up. So I'd like to know if there was, during the testing of the clock, was there this much animosity, or was it successful? These games are short. I can watch a spring training game and it zips by. It's strange, but
obviously guys are going to adjust.
Money they lose in advertising too.
Well, that's
well, those are still the same length. I think all that stuff stays the same.
Yeah, but you can't go picture during a pitching change and stuff.
Yeah.
You're gonna get less breaks in too if the game's
and Andy said earlier. The vendors, that seventh inning break, the beer sale cutoff is going to come awfully fast, and we'll see what the impact is on that at the stadium. But
real fast,
it's all very, very interesting. But any other changes you want to talk about here on the show, Town Ball, that we missed, that we didn't bring up?
Just real quick, with the WBC being on, back to that a little bit. I was particularly glued to that this year, and along with all this other stuff we're talking about having to do these pitch clock gimmicks and big bases, and I think we're ending ties with a home run derby now. Whatever we got to do to lure in the MMA fans or whatever they're trying to do, but we realistically what the purpose of the WBC serves, that's great, is growing this game globally, which frankly we have to do if we want baseball to survive. You look at the way the NBA's grown globally, and the NHL, how many international players there are, and all these other sports, and we need to see more. Obviously we saw Ichiro come in years ago and start a wave of players coming from Japan and Korea, and we've seen a lot of Australian players come through, but growing the game globally is going to be crucial to the ongoing success of the sport. And that's what's great about the WBC is that all these countries, well, especially countries with a storied baseball history like Venezuela, like Cuba, Mexico, it's great for them.
Colombia.
Yeah, for sure. But then you get, Great Britain does not have a storied history with baseball. You're growing the game over there. The same way that, the NFL's been over there growing football in the UK and in Europe for forever. And we're way behind the ball with baseball. So, I don't know what that we're behind the 8 ball with baseball. Again, there's a lot of balls here, but we need to be doing more of this, and that's what the WBC is going to do. And right now we're seeing the whole Dutch team, they're all from Curacao. All the British players are, they had a couple guys on the roster from Great Britain, but that's going to change over time, where we're going to see a World Baseball Classic 10 years from now where half the roster is from Great Britain. There's actual Dutch guys on the team. You're the Italian guys aren't just going to be ex major leaguers with Italian surnames. They're going back and playing with it, and that's great for the game. And this winter I was in Cambodia for 3 weeks, and I had the privilege of getting to visit and practice with a local team there in Cambodia, where the game is it's very small, and they've only been playing. I mean, obviously, Cambodia has been through war and genocide and all kinds of horrible stuff in modern history, and so they're kind of getting a late start on everything, really. But only since like the early 2000s has anybody was baseball even brought there. So but to hang out with these guys, and the field they play on it's one of the only dedicated baseball diamonds in the whole country. So most of the places where they have clubs that are playing, they're sort of like setting up a baseball diamond on a soccer field. It looks a little bit like the football stadium.
At the US Bank, yeah.
The greenhouse.
But, there's this one dedicated ballpark, and we made a point to go out of our way, traveling between Phnom Penh and Siem Reap, and stop to visit the ballpark. And the guys invited me to come hang out and do a practice with them, and it was great. And these guys are so excited to be playing baseball. They were getting prepared. A lot of them play both for their local team there, and a lot of them play on the Cambodian national team. And the national team is getting ready to go over and play. They were in late February. They played a tournament in Laos. So it was Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, and Vietnam all played each other. And, they've only been involved in international competition baseball for, a little over a decade, about 15 years, I suppose. But for those guys, I mean, a lot of these kids, they're farm kids. The average household income in Cambodia is $1,500 a year for the household. So a lot of this first time they ever got to cross the border into another country and go play ball. And then like to see that excitement and be like, man, like I want to see this game grow here, so I've, again, for the folks that follow me on Twitter, they'll know this, but I'm starting a campaign. I'm, be collecting some ball gloves and equipment and rounding up some money to ship some stuff over there and help, grow the game there with, from the young kids on up through adults. And, I'd love to get to a point where I can, turn on the tube and see, my girlfriend's Kamai, she's her parents are from Cambodia and they just moved back to retire. But so, I have a special connection there. But it'd be great to turn on the TV and see, a stadium full of Khmer folks, like, waving the Cambodian flag and like, excited to see their team competing on this global stage. And so, so you love to see stuff like that and see where it's going, and so I love the international competition. I love World Baseball Classic.
Were you successful then in some of the donations coming in, used equipment, things like that?
I got some awesome pledges of equipment. We're still everyone's starting to thaw out and dig up their stuff. So, I got this week coming up, I'll be collecting some stuff from a few people that have made some donation pledges and I, started up the GoFundMe to collect a little cash just to cover the cost of shipping stuff over there. And I got some great donations from some real generous folks. Obviously, Minnesota loves baseball. And I know, I'm pretty well connected here. So I got a good network of guys that are, happy to chip in. And so I figured I could put some of that opportunity to good use and see what we can do to, to help grow the game, obviously.
Yeah, it's fun looking through some of the photos that you had when you came back that you took out there spending with the kids and playing a little ball. They all had smiles on their faces. I mean, they all loved it. Fun stuff.
No doubt.
Where should they reach out to make a donation or to contact you, Ryno?
Oh, there's a long URL.
It's on your Twitter page though.
Check out my Twitter. I got tweets out there, but I should just, as this grows, I mean, I see it, probably growing out at some point to just being a permanent, like a nonprofit organization or something where we can just do a permanent mission to connect between.
What's their baseball season over there as far as latitude, longitude? What's their season out for baseball? For those who don't know, I don't even know myself.
Well, so right now it's pretty hot over there, and they're getting into. So I think when they would be playing, mostly would be like our. I wish Sophie was here right now. She could give me, but right now they're in the really hot season, and I think they're going into the rainy season,
the monsoon season. So it's probably after that, but it's
probably like November to February, like Australia does for their baseball.
Yeah, it's probably pretty similar. They're on the equator. They could play. Weather-wise, they could play just about any time. But I mean, even when I was there, it was December, and it was, daytime 85, 87 degrees up to 90. But I think now it's like 110. It's a little hot to be playing outside right now, I think. But then you get the rainy, it gets too rainy. But yeah, I'm thinking it's probably because it seemed like they would kind of wound down by the time I was there in December. So I think it's kind of going on in the fall, but similar to the Australian season.
Good. That's fun stuff. Well, keep us posted. Keep the updates coming and the photos. It's fun to watch the growth there. And if anyone's got some old equipment, whatever, send it over to Ryno's way.
Yeah, they love ball gloves. They're hard to come by over there.
Oh yes, good to know. Anything else, Andy?
No, that's all I got.
Well, Town Ball Tuesday, Ryno, we'd like to thank you for your time and your input and your opinions and some of these things on these polarizing topics that we'd like to talk about. That there's no middle ground. People love them or hate them. It's too much.
We did talk on Twitter. He is going to come on for a songs episode one time too.
Oh yeah, we can always talk tunes.
We got to do that. We can always do that
for sure.
All right. Good luck in the upcoming season. Here, watching a little pro ball here, starting off this Thursday. Should be fun.
All right.
Thanks, boys.
Talk to you guys later. Have a good one. All right.